aham giram asmekam aksharam yagyanam japo yagyosmi stavaranam himalaya. Of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And of the immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Text 26. Ashvatasarva vrikshanam devarshinam chanaradaha gandharvanam chitraratha siddhanam kapilo muni. Of all the trees, I am the holy fig tree, and among sages and demigods, I am Narada. Of the singers of the gods, Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Text 27. Uchaishravasam ashvanam bitimam amritodbhavam airavatam gajendranam naranam cha naradipam. Of horses know me to be Uchaishrava, who rose out of the ocean, born of the elixir of immortality. Of lordly elephants I am Airavata, and among men I am the monarch. Text 28. Ayudhanam aham vajram, enunam asmi kamaduk, prajanas chasmi kandarpa, sarpanam asmi vasuki. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the surabhi, givers of abundant milk. Of procreators, I am Kandarpa, the god of love. And of serpents, I am Vasuki, the chief. Text 29. Anantaschasmi naganam varuno yadasamaham pitrinam aryamachasmi yamasam samyatamaham. Of the celestial Naga snakes, I am Ananta. Of the aquatic deities, I am Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, Lord of Death. Text 30. Vladas chasmi daithyanam kala kalayatamaham mriganam cha mrigindroham vainateyas chapakshinam. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. Among subduers, I am Time. Among the beasts, I am the lion. And among birds, I am Garuda, the feathered carrier of Vishnu. Text 31. Bhavana bhavatam asmi rama shastra pritam aham chasanam makaras chasmi shrotasam asmi janavi. Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of the flowing rivers, I am the Ganga. Text 32. Sarganam adir antascha madhyam chaivaham arjuna adhyatma vidya vidyanam vada pravadatam aham. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Text 33. Aksharanam akadosmi dvandva samasikasya cha aham evakshaya kalo tataham vishvato mukaha. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compounds, I am the dual word. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma, whose manifold faces turn everywhere. Okay, we can go to text 23. And would somebody like to read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai? There's very short purports, so maybe we can read
all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am fire, Agni. And of the mountains, I am Meru. Purport. There are 11 Rudras, of whom Shankara, Lord Shiva, is predominant. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in charge of the modes of ignorance in the universe. Among the demigods, Kuvera is the chief treasurer, and he is a representation of the Supreme Lord. Meru is a mountain famed for its rich natural resources.
Somebody want to read text 24?
Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati, the lord of devotion. Of generals, I am Skanda, the lord of war. And of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Purport. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets, and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet in which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest, and since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda, the son of Parvati, and Lord Shiva is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness.
Only hints of his greatness. That's good. Want to read the next text, Prabhu?
Text 25. Of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Purport. Brahma, the first living creature within the universe, created several sons for the propagation of various kinds of species. The most powerful of his sons is Bhrigu, who is also the greatest sage. Of all the transcendental vibrations, the Om or Omkara represents the Supreme. Of all the sacrifices, the chanting of
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare
is the purest representation of Krishna. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and the purest. Whatever is sublime in the world is a representation of Krishna. Therefore, the Himalayas, the greatest mountains in the world, also represent him. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in a previous verse, but is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never movable. Thus, the Himalayas are greater than Meru.
Text 26.
Of all trees I am the holy fig tree, and among sages and demigods I am Narada. Of the singers of the gods, Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha, and among perfected beings I am the sage Kapila. Purport. The fig tree, Ashwatha, is one of the most beautiful and highest trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus he is the representation of Krishna as a devotee. The Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them the best singer is Chitraratha. Amongst the perpetually living entities, Kapila is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus there is a gulf of difference between them.
Text 27.
Of horses know me to be I Uchaish who rose out of the ocean, born of the elixir of immortality. Of lordly elephants I am Airavata, and among men I am the monarch. Purport. The devotee demigods and the demons, asuras, once took a sea journey. On this journey, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Shiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchai Shriva. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airavata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance, and they are representatives of Krishna. Amongst the human beings, the king is the representative of Krishna because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe, and the kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Rama were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and is now finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings.
28.
Text 28. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the Surabi, givers of abundant milk. Of procreators, I am Kandarpa, the god of love. And of serpents, I am Basuki, the chief. Purport. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world, but there is mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many such cows, which are called Surabhi. It is stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the Surabhi cows. Kandarpa is the sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarpa is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna, but sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna.
29. Of the celestial Naga snakes, I am Ananta. Of the aquatic deities, I am Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, Lord of Death. Purport. Among the many celestial Naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as is Varuna among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of trees presided over by Aryama, who represents Krishna. There are many living entities who give punishment to the miscreants, and among them, Yama is the chief. Yama is situated in a planet near this earthly planet. And after death, those who are very sinful are taken there, and Yama arranges different kinds of punishments for them. Text 30. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. Among subduers, I am Time. Among the beasts, I am the lion, and among birds, I am Garuda, the feathered carrier of Vishnu. Purport. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are called Adityas, and the sons of Diti are called Daityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe and so represents Krishna. Of the many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious, and of the million varieties of birds, Garuda, the bearer of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. 31. Of purifiers, yeah, go ahead.
Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Purport. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus, the shark represents Krishna. And of rivers, the greatest in India is the mother Ganges. Lord Ramachandra of the Ramayan, an incarnation of Krishna, is the mightiest of warriors.
Verse 2.
Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle. O Arjuna, of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Purport. Among created manifestations, the total material elements are first created by Mahavishnu and are annihilated by Lord Shiva. Brahma is the secondary creator. All these created elements are different incarnations of the material qualities of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creation. Regarding the spiritual science of the self, there are many literatures, such as the four Vedas, the Vedanta Sutra, and the Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Gita. These are all representatives of Krishna. Among logicians, there are different stages of argument. The presentation of evidence is called japa. The attempt to defeat one another is called vitanda, and the final conclusion is called vada, the conclusive truth, the end of all reasoning processes. The end of all reasoning processes is Krishna.
Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compounds, I am the dual word. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma, whose manifold faces turn everywhere. Purport. Akara, the first letter of Sanskrit alphabet, is the beginning of Vedic literature. Without Akara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore, it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit, there are also many compound words, of which the dual word, like Ramakrishna, is called Dvandvaha. For instance, Rama and Krishna have the same rhythm and therefore are called dual. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. Time is the representative of Krishna because in due course of time, there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. Among the creators and living entities, Brahma is the chief. The various Brahmas exhibit 4, 8, 16, etc. heads accordingly, and they are the chief creators in their respective universes. The Brahmas are representatives of Krishna.
So, does anybody have any comments or questions?
I don't know if this is correct, but there was this story that this one military person met with Prabhupada somewhere. I forget which disciple of Srila Prabhupada tells it, but this man who was in the military, he brought his whole family like hours to meet Srila Prabhupada in some country like Europe. And one thing he asked Srila Prabhupada after they had like an hour meeting or like a pretty long meeting, and he asked him, he said, like, I'm a very busy man and I know that I won't be able to read this whole book, but can you tell me just one chapter that's most important that I should read? And I will read it I think he said every week, I think, or every month. And Prabhupada told him that this 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the opulence of the absolute. And then some years later, the disciple of Srila Prabhupada who recites this story mentioned how he saw that same military man some years later, and he said that he's been reading it. He still reads it every month and like gets a lot from it. So I read it yesterday. My mother was dropping me off at the airport. And I was thinking if someone's not gonna, because she doesn't usually hear about Krishna, saying if someone's not gonna hear anything about Krishna.
You read it to her?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was thinking if someone's not gonna hear anything about Krishna, what's the best thing I can have them hear about Krishna? So I thought of what happened with Prabhupada and that man in the military. So that I thought I'll just read this chapter to her. And it was interesting reading it from and thinking about the perspective of someone who never hears about Krishna, then hearing this chapter, because it's like everything is in there. The whole first couple of verses, Krishna's pretty much explaining the process of Krishna consciousness, that if you're dear to him, then he's happy to impart this knowledge to you. And then he's the source of everything. and one who knows that transcendental nature of his, one who knows that he's beginningless, that person is freed from all sins, and then how everything's coming from him, all the good qualities, bad qualities. And then how do his devotees act? They get great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening each other and conversing about him. And then all of a sudden you see the relationship between, oh, and he tells you that if you worship him with love, he'll give the understanding by which you can come to him. And then you see the relationship between him and Arjuna starts asking him, well, tell me about how great you are. And then you just hear all these things about how great he is and how you can see Krishna in everything, no matter who you are. You see, okay, the fishes, he's the shark, he's the sun, he's the ocean, he's the moon. It's like such a Krishna conscious chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Thanks, Hare Krishna.
It's a very Krishna conscious chapter of very Krishna conscious book. Does anybody else have any thoughts or things they'd like to add? That was very nice. Thank you. Yes.
I was thinking the other day how Brahma has different size heads. I mean, he has different numbers of heads based on whichever universe. And in this purport, Prabhupada starts the list with number 4. 4 heads. And I'd like to ask you if we presently are in the smallest material universe.
Yeah, that's what's said. And our Brahma has 4 heads, which is the smallest. So that's why it goes 4, 8, 16. Apparently, it's in increments, the way Prabhupada's describing it. But it's definitely clear that this universe is the smallest, and Brahma has the smallest, or he has the lowest number of heads.
I have a strange thought from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada's purports. I understand that the Lord he lies down in the in this causal ocean, and then he glances over the Mahatattva and agitates it, and all the universes emanate from the pores of his body, Mahavishnu. At least that's how I've understood it. I don't exactly know what that means, but where did we come out? Is that worthwhile asking?
Well, as far as my limited understanding goes, is what you said is correct. It creates the foundation of everything that we know here in this material world. So there's this Mahatattva, this Lord Vishnu, Karnadakashayi Vishnu, resting on this causal ocean, breathing, emanating universes from his pores. So within each and every universe, Shri Gauranatai Ki Jai. So we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it describes how Lord Brahma appears. He manifests from this lotus born from Lord Vishnu's navel. So the Lord, as Karnadakashayi Vishnu, is emanating all these universes, which is Brahmanda. And it's like an egg-shaped universe. Brahmanda, because Lord Brahma is the chief personality of this egg, of this universe. So within each and every universe, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu appears, and he's resting on this Garbhodana ocean. And from that ocean, he births a lotus from his navel. And then from that navel, Lord Brahma appears. And Lord Brahma's bewildered, and we hear the story of the pastime of what happens. So, as far as I know, this same pastime happens in every universe. I mean, I'm sure it's not clear cut, cookie cut the same exact way, but pretty much it's the same foundation. And then within each universe, according to the size of the universe, then that corresponds with the number of heads the Brahma has. And then further than that, Shirodakashayi Vishnu, he enters into every atom within the universe, into all the hearts of all the living entities. He's directing the wanderings of everybody within the material world, and overseeing. He's the witness of all. So those are these three different aspects of this, the Lord's, what's it called, the Purusha avatars, which is described in the 3rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I hope that's clear. That's the best that I know. Does anybody else have any comments or thoughts or questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhu, in the verse 25, like generally we see that chanting of the transcendental holy names, such as the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is considered supreme. I mean, but again, it's also given that of the transcendental vibrations, the Omkara or Om represents the supreme. So, like, of course, we understand the fact that Hare Krishna mantra has its own potency. But if someone says, what about just chanting Om, Omkara? Is it considered equivalent, or
Is it considered equivalent?
yeah?
What does Krishna say? He says, of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names Japa. So, as far as my understanding goes, which is limited, one can read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I remember reading an extensive purport that describes Om from the perspective of Vaishnavism, as given by our acharyas. I believe Rupa Goswami, I'm not exactly sure, but it breaks it down as Om is not just these letters O-M, it's A-U-M-O. So, and they were describing each letter representing different facets of Vaishnavism, as you'd have to refer to it to get the specifics, but from what I remember, it's like A represents Srimati Radharani and you Krishna. I don't know, but something like that, of how it goes together. And there's a much, much deeper meaning from somebody who has the tattva, the understanding of Krishna, somebody who's Krishna conscious. But from a lesser perspective than that, Om, this is the vibration that permeates creation. So this is a very essential vibration. I mean, this is emanating throughout everything, and it's transcendental. If one chants Om, they can have transcendental realizations. They can elevate their consciousness. But in this, also in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's later in this. No, it's in a few chapters later, where Krishna talks about Om. Basically, in the purport, Prabhupada talks about how no Vedic shlokas are stated. Om is always recited first.
Bhagavate
Yeah,
Vasudevaya.
exactly. So it's an invocation to seed the shlokas that you're doing, because it invokes a transcendental auspicity to it, you could say. But we hear that in this Kali Yuga, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kala Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Katiranyata. So, in previous ages, yogis could chant this Om and do meditation and attain their results. But now the recommended process is chanting the Lord's holy name. So the Lord saying specifically of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy name. So that's very significant, because if one wants to love, we have to sacrifice, we have to give. And Krishna himself is saying of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names. So that's very significant. That's the supreme sacrifice. We might as well take the supreme sacrifice, especially since it's so easy.
It's like the Sankirtana Yajna is recommended for this age of Kali Yuga.
Yeah, this is the recommended process to attain life's desired goal. And we see in the Shikshashtakam, the first verse is denoting this. All glories to the Lord Sri Krishna Sankirtana movement. It's cleansing the heart of the living entities. So the more that we can align ourselves with this Sankirtan movement, the more we can rest assured that we're acting in a way pleasing to Krishna. We have something to offer to Krishna. What do we have to offer to Krishna? We have nothing to offer to Krishna. And whatever we have to offer to Krishna is Krishna's giving to us, and we're taking it from him and giving back to him. The example like taking Ganga and offering it to the Ganga. What else do we have to offer?
It's like a child giving a toffee to his father.
Yeah.
Chocolate.
So it's actually Krishna's mercy upon us that he allows us to participate. But it's not like, okay, this devotee goes out and he's doing Harinam every day. He's a Sankirtan devotee, and like I just stay at the temple. I'm not a Sankirtan devotee. Or maybe I work and go to school. I'm not a Sankirtan devotee. Sankirtan means congregationally glorifying the Lord, specifically chanting his holy names. So just by coming to the temple, we do this every day. And everything that we're talking about, our day-to-day activities, it's all supposed to support this. But, I'm reminded of one time I was reading a letter from Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was talking about, all these meetings that everybody has, like, say there's like a board meeting, like a GBC meeting, or this or that. And he kind of made a comment like, forget all these things and just do Harinam, just chant together. So by chanting together, that's the process. It will cleanse the hearts, and we may hold all these grudges and different things with one another. If we're living with people in tight spaces for long periods of time. But if we chant together, then you'll have this transcendental realization. You'll do it together, realize it's nice, and it cleanses the heart. So often, we can congregate together and chant the Lord's holy name, but really, like, I'm living on an island within my own self. So to really come together and chant and glorify the Lord together, this is very nice. It's very pleasing to the Lord because, in the spiritual world, it's not like we're going to be alone chanting, oh, the goal is to be there with Krishna, to serve Krishna, whether you're in Vaikuntha and you're always serving the Lord. There's no time to chant Om because you're busy rendering service to the Lord. And if you're in the spiritual world, serving Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan or whatever, wherever you may be, there's no time for that. Spiritual world means activity. So, some people take to this process and their whole consciousness is absorbed in a negation of suffering, a negation of sense gratification, a negation of the material world. This is shunyavad. Let's just make it zero. It's all suffering. It's all bad. So let's get rid of it. Let's not touch it. Let's not deal with it. But real life is the positive engagement. So we can read and see in the Bhagavatam, Krishna, he descends from Goloka Vrindavan to Bhoma Vrindavan to show his pastimes, his eternal pastimes with his devotees, and attract the conditioned living entities back to the spiritual world. And we see in those pastimes, it's filled with activity. Sri Ram's there popping a ladu in Krishna's mouth, Radharani's like picking flowers, thinking of Krishna. Mother Yashoda's chasing Krishna with ropes. So much activity. So the sooner that we can align ourselves with that consciousness of doing service for Krishna, the better. And we hear from our acharyas, and here significantly stated by Krishna, sacrifices I am the chanting of the holy names. So if you want to chant Om, we Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, and then we talk about Krishna. So I hope that helps. But I mean, this Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, this is a bona fide mantra also. This was instructed from Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj. But Narada Muni was instructing him at a different age, a different yuga, a different time, a different process. So, specifically, we chant the Maha Mantra. And I don't know if we were reading where it was. I heard it recently, but I was reading some book myself. Prabhupada talked about they were in Vrindavan, and they hear these different made up mantras, and there may be mantras that sound very nice, and they're saying all the names of the deities, they're saying names of the Lord. I don't want to repeat it because you repeat it, it's even so catchy. It sounds nice. You want to chant it, but it's not bona fide because it's not recommended in the scriptures. So if we want to make advancement, then we follow the scriptures, which are the manual of how to live life. And say, you get a car, brand new car, and it comes with a user manual. Something breaks or something, everything's there is in the user manual. But it may take a long time to understand everything in there. Or you have your body, you break a bone, so then you get a book on anatomy, so you try to study what bone went wrong, how you could heal it. You can learn a little bit, but it's going to be very difficult. But if you just go talk to the person who's spent their life studying that and following it, they can very easily tell you. So we follow the scriptures, but because we don't have a proper understanding of approaching the scriptures, then we follow the acharyas who are living by the scriptures, and then they can guide us the proper way to live by the scriptures also, according to our means, what we're capable of. One devotee may be ready just to surrender to Krishna and take up austerities and live as a brahmachari. Another devotee might have more worldly obligations and duties and different things to deal with. We're all attached to different ideas, different concepts. I have family, I have responsibilities, I have duties. These are okay, but we have to keep our vision on what the Acharya is saying. The Acharya is saying surrender to Krishna. He's not saying serve your mom. He's not saying serve your dad, serve your dog. He's saying surrender to Krishna. So, I've been to India, and I've talked with some people, and they are challenged with this because they say, oh, what about your mom's your first guru, and they bring up some other scripture where it says you should treat your parents like Vishnu or something. So they feel very indebted to following the wishes of their parents. It's nice, it's a nice culture, but we can look at the Vedas, and the whole of the Vedas mostly is dealing with karma kanda, proper way of acting to rise our consciousness to a higher state. The very, 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 very long way to take to transcendence. Because the idea of the karma kanda philosophy is that one advances in the Vedic path, and then they find themselves in a higher state of life. Then I may associate with brahmanas, and brahmanas they're talking about Swargaloka and other higher things. So then we do pious activities so that we can go there. Then we go to these higher planets, these higher facilities of life, and over a long period of time you realize there's no enjoyment. But because you've been following the Vedic scheme, then there's purification there, and you continue to go to the Vedic scheme and make advancement. So for somebody to quote scriptures that are supporting family dharma, lesser dharmas. It's good, it's not bad, but why not take a shortcut? Yeah, because you have to realize the goal of life. You have to have proper sambandha, proper understanding of what life's goal is, and then how to achieve that. And once you understand that properly, then you realize the futility of the process I aforementioned. But the reason why I say it's good, it's not bad, is because it's one of the offenses against the holy name to blaspheme the Vedic version. So I could sit here and say, Krishna says chanting of the holy names is the only way, it's the best way. What you're doing is nonsense. Now, everybody should be encouraged to follow the Vedic scheme wherever they're at. If we do, then purification will ensue. So that's what I said. The acharya who's living by the scripture will take the disciple, or the shiksha guru will instruct you the best way for you. But we should know, yeah, it's better if I could just surrender to Krishna and 24/7 give everything to Krishna. Like being a brahmachari isn't necessarily better than being a grihasta or somebody working. But what is there is the opportunity for more service, less risk of entanglement, more time to hear and chant and study and do devotional service, worship the deities. So the whole point is providing us the facilities so we can engage ourselves in Krishna's service nicely. And contrary to that, Grihastha ashram, you're following certain rules and regulations, then you have to face the difficulties of the material world. And you see the benefit of, I wish I could just chant Hare Krishna, I want to chant japa, but I only have so little time because I have to go to work and I have to do this, kids, family, wife. So then you really value every second, more. You realize the importance of it. So it's all there for purification. Everything is designed with this varnashram system for our purification. So the more we follow and adhere to it and take shelter of these ashrams, of these varnas, then purification is there. But the more that we, live aloof from the Vedic scheme and we're attracted by the Western ideology or hippie ideology or Buddhist ideology, Mayavad, ultimately, then it will be derailed, and it might be a very, very, very subtle thing. So we keep persevering with, pushing with determination, striving wherever we're at. And when we do honestly and genuinely, it's very humbling. It's very humbling because we can read all day, and sometimes we read about, the potency of the holy name, how we just need to chant Hare Krishna, and then you don't even grasp it. You still chant 16 rounds just with a mood to I just want to get over with this. But then sometimes you may read and you grasp it, oh, chanting is everything. Let me really give my heart to chanting, and you really, really try to give your consciousness, your attention, your focus, your heart. You may even want to chant extra rounds. You may chant, all the time throughout the day, but then you still don't get a taste, or you still come crashing down, or you still feel anxiety. This is very humbling, because it shows us that, oh, I thought I was great, that I could do anything, but I actually I'm not so powerful after all. But our acharyas, they're powerful. Why are they powerful? Because they've been given shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's lotus feet. And why have they been given that shelter? Because they've taken shelter of the lotus feet of their guru, who's taken shelter of their guru, who's taken shelter of their guru, all the way back through the parampara to Lord Krishna. So we have to take shelter of guru. We have to take shelter of sadhus, of the shastra. and in that way strive to take shelter of Lord Krishna, knowing that there's something vibrating. Anyways, yeah, we have to strive to take shelter of Krishna, even though we know that we're insignificant and unworthy. So, it's a few thoughts. Does anybody have any other final comments or questions or anything, doubts? Probably my. Oh. All right. Any last things? Finito. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Vancha Kapatarubhis Chakripas and the Beva Chapatitanam Pavane Bhi Vaishnave Namo Namaha.